Well, hello everyone out there in the football world. We are the Head Couch Analysts. I am your host, Sanders. As normal, I'm joined by Pardue. The Super Bowl just ended. We're heading straight into the offseason, which means there's no more football until August preseason and September for real football. It's that time of the year, boys. We get really sad with no football. What about you, Pardue? You sad?
Well, honestly, it's not that I'm not sad. Like, I'm obviously going to miss football season, but obviously my team's been out of for a little bit now, so I've kind of come to grips with that football is gone. Another thing that goes into that is, I think we talked about it briefly, but this was my first full season covering an entire season, and while covering through Twitter, giving play-by-play on different games, and doing this podcast every week. It's been a long season, in my opinion. It's been the longest season I've ever personally experienced.
Yeah, it's about week 13, 14. It gets grueling, doesn't it?
Right. So it's not that I don't enjoy doing this or anything, but it has been a long season. I wouldn't say I'm quite as upset as I was in previous seasons, but it was a good season, and just out of all the things that happened this year, it feels like just a couple weeks ago, this might be gruesome, but I thought about it the other day. I was like, Dak Prescott's ankle injury. I just thought about that yesterday. I was like, I feels like that was just a couple weeks ago, but that was months ago.
Oh yeah, that was forever ago, dude. That was week 4, week 5. That happened a long time ago. And then you start to, hear that, they started contract extensions, but they haven't really gotten anywhere, and it's here we go again.
Right.
I'm not gonna buy into any of the off-season talk. I think right now, I think it's not close enough to free agency. We're still 5 weeks away, which I guess in NFL time, 5 weeks away probably doesn't feel like a long time. But for me, as someone who has other things I'm doing in life, like coaching varsity basketball, being a teacher, and just other things in life, 5 weeks away is a whiles away for me. And I understand, the sports world, 5 weeks away doesn't seem like a lot. I think to myself, yeah, playoffs are 5 weeks away for, our basketball boys, but I'm sure 5 weeks from now, I'll be like, shoot, our whole season's over and we're in the postseason, right? It's gonna creep up on you eventually. So when you're in it, I'm sure it's faster than what it is. And I'm sure for timelines, kind of like Bill Belichick says after a Super Bowl, remember that Super Bowl from 2 years ago when he's like, we're 3 weeks behind everyone else. And I'm like, oh, only this guy could be negative about winning a Super Bowl. So, I'm excited to head into, the off season for a little bit. I mean, I'm still sad we won't have football, but it's also nice for me to think about Sunday and be like, man, I get to do something on Sunday that's not football related, right? And yeah, it's a choice that I do these football things, but it's still nice to just say, hey, I got another thing to do besides football. So at least that's how I feel. But you know what? By the time free agency comes around, I think that'll be fun. As for all the quarterback things like Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, I as much as I want Deshaun Watson to leave, I know the Texans would be stupid to let him go. That is the worst possible move to make. So
they'd let go of DeAndre Hopkins.
I know, but I think that's for different reasons, right? DeAndre Hopkins is an all-star player, but Deshaun Watson, you can't let go of a top 3 quarterback. It's just unheard of. The last time a top 3 quarterback was let go of, no offense to Tom Brady, was probably Peyton Manning. At least top 3 at that time, right? I still wouldn't call Tom Brady top 3 last year, not even this year, but probably 5 or 6 or 7, right? He's still in the upper echelon of elite quarterbacks, just not top 3. I would consider Deshaun Watson. Yeah, the last time that happened was Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning, the Colts had a reason, right? He was coming off neck surgery. They had no idea if he was going to work out. So they drafted his replacement, Andrew Luck, and they're like, all right, we don't need you. Bye. And then he went to the Broncos, and he had a very successful career with the Broncos as well. So it's completely unheard of for a top 3 quarterback to leave their team. And unless it's for a good reason, which there is none here, I can't see them trading it. I feel like this is going to come to I'm not showing up to training camp, I'm not showing up to regular season games kind of thing. I feel like this is more of a Lev Bell situation, and him having to sit out a whole year for them to finally see, oh, he doesn't care, right? He will refuse to play football, right? So unless that actually happens and a Lev Bell situation does come up, I don't see him leaving Houston. So until I see it, right, I won't believe it. Until I see Russell Wilson, the title, Russell Wilson being traded, I won't believe it. I don't, I understand they're frustrated that he's gotten sacked so many times, but you're not going to trade a quarterback like Russell Wilson away. And I also kind of feel the same way about Dak Prescott, right? It would be a massive mistake for the Cowboys to let him go. Mostly because you're rolling the dice on someone else. And while we haven't been huge Dak Prescott fans on this show, I also will believe in him wherever he goes if the first 4 games of this year were any indication in his growth as a player. I know he was always playing from behind, but the fact that he kept up while playing from behind, I think speaks volumes. So that's how I feel about quarterback carousels at the moment. I'm trying not to buy into the hype.
I mean, maybe not, but I think whether it be through free agency or for trade, this is going to be or the draft. Like, this offseason is probably going to be the most. It's already started with the Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff trade. This offseason, there is more quarterbacks on the market, no matter what it might be, than any time ever. There's going to be more teams this year with a new face of the franchise than probably any year in NFL history. So I think the quarterback market is going to be the most interesting thing to watch this offseason, to be quite honest. Like, maybe I don't think Russell Wilson's going anywhere. That's not going to happen. But I'm a pretty firm believer that Deshaun Watson will be gone. Like, the guys, when it comes to like guys like Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport started reporting it, that like there's some serious like talks and serious, like, him being disgruntled is like legitimate. I begin to believe that it's more and more likely, because they're not going to just report some, like guys like Ian and Adam. They're not just going to report some.
It's very rare that they
thing.
miss. It's a diamond in the rough when they miss. And if they do miss, they immediately will like retweet their tweet and be like, "Oh, we got misinformation. This isn't happening."
Mm-hmm. So they take that very, very seriously. So when they start reporting it, that's when I start, reading into it a bit more. Now, they haven't really said a whole lot about the Russell Wilson situation. So, and even if they did, like, they're probably going to end up saying Russell Wilson's probably not going anywhere. They're going to figure this out. They're going to draft a good left tackle or trade for a left tackle, whatever. And
we got Orlando Brown in Baltimore if you want him. It's gonna be a high cost, but we got him.
So I think the quarterback market will be interesting, but I mean, we got all off season to talk about the off season.
Oh yeah,
and we're gonna
we got 6 months, my guy.
We're gonna break it down by division, kind of like we did last year. So this podcast has been going on for about a year now, because I remember we started right around the Super Bowl last year. So then the first several episodes of the podcast were off-season oriented. So if you remember from last year, we're kind of going to go back to what we did last year and break down each division team by team and kind of go from there. We're going to talk about off-season storylines that happens. Obviously, as the draft comes up, we'll talk about the draft more. When free agency comes up, we'll talk about free agency and so on and so forth. We plan on like breaking down the coaching hires and everything as well, but since that's still kind of a liquid or, not a solid, not all that's played through yet this offseason, coaching hires and everything. So we'll wait a little bit, and when we break down divisions and teams individually, we'll like get to the coaching when we get there. But the Urban Meyer thing, I'm really excited to talk about that. But how about we talk about the Super Bowl?
Yeah, let's get to it. So it was a thing that happened, right? So when I was watching it, of course, I wanted the Buccaneers to win, so I was hyped the whole time. But then I think it was like 2 days later, I'm like, let's watch the highlights. Let's see what actually happened. Take off my rose-colored glasses, right? The team that I wanted to win won. Let's look at this from an analytical perspective. And man, this game was garbage. Like, quite honestly, outside of like I would say the first quarter where the Chiefs actually looked pretty good. They never looked good after that. They really missed Eric Fisher on the offensive line. Again, the one thing I said that every team should do, which is play too high safety, is what all the Buccaneers did. I think they played it 74% of the defensive plays, and they blitzed him, I think, 3 times the whole game. 3 times. They always rushed 4 or less. They only blitzed 5 or more 3 times the whole game. So they did what you're supposed to do against the Chiefs. Don't friggin' blitz. Don't do it. That's when they're at their best. And so,
well, it's easy to say that when you have the pass rushers like Shaq Barrett and JPP to do it, and a guy like Vita Vea on the inside to get pressure from the interior as well. When you guys got like that, it's really easy not to blitz because you're still getting pressure.
I think,
because the only way
Eric
to knock
Fisher
off
not
a
being
guy
there helps out too.
Right, no, definitely. The only way to like knock off Patrick Mahomes and get him off of his rhythm and make him play poorly is get pressure on him. And that was apparent. Like Patrick Mahomes is athletic, but he's not Kyler Murray, he's not Lamar Jackson, he's not even Deshaun Watson. He is the modern era statue. Like he can move a bit, but he's not going to escape pressure if it's really bearing down on him.
Did you see the stat for how many yards he ran that whole game?
Oh, probably a lot.
He ran 497 yards.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is like Patrick Mahomes is extremely mobile, right? Like he's like, I would compare his game to like Aaron Rodgers. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's very smart with the ball, and he can get away from pressure, right? It's not often Aaron Rodgers gets sacked when the line breaks down. It's not often that Mahomes, like for as much as they were getting after Mahomes, he didn't take a sack very often, right? I mean, he would run back far, like 20 yards, but he'd get rid of the ball, right? And there was a couple of throws. There was one that was in the corner of the end zone where I was like, man, if that receiver would have caught it, that would have been cool, right? Or there's the one that everybody was freaking out about
where he face mask.
Where he was, in midair and he still launched it like not only did he throw it 30 yards, but it went high in the air, dude. Like that is a sidearm throw.
And it was on a dot. It was exactly where it needed to be.
Oh my goodness.
It was an incredible throw, insane throw.
That is the most insane throw you will ever see, and unfortunately it will never be talked about because it was an incomplete pass. Go ahead.
Even if they lost that game, like that play would not only have been like play of the game, but it would have been like watched for a very, very long time. It would be a highlight that the NFL would put in commercials for a long time, and they would have lost.
100%. That's exactly what would have happened. It's just unreal how that happened, or how even that's humanly possible. So I can't even stress enough about how much, I don't think this was his fault at all. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's Mafrod. I'm like, shut up. He was probably one of the few people who showed up for the game, if we're being honest, right?
Well, while I'm not going to come out here and straight up bash Mahomes, while I wouldn't necessarily
he had like 6 incompletes in a row, I agree, but a lot of that was like Kelsey dropping passes. Like when your receivers are dropping passes, that ain't your fault. I would like to say what most Ravens fans were saying during the whole game, because I have Ravens Twitter on my timeline, is welcome to Lamar Jackson's world, Patrick Mahomes, where you run around the field all day, you throw to your receivers who won't catch it, and you got to make plays with your legs, but unfortunately it ain't enough because your team ain't showing up. Welcome to that world, because that's exactly what I was thinking too. Like the line was getting destroyed, his receivers weren't catching the ball or getting separation, and I'm like, yeah, this looks very familiar. This looks like a Ravens playoff game. Because that's what it's been almost every time, right? Like I do agree, like Lamar has not shown up at times, but also other times I'm like, dude, there's like 10 dropped passes by receivers. What is he supposed to do? Like I don't know what to say. And when Kelsey's dropping a first down pass, or I don't remember who it was that dropped the pass, but he dropped that, touchdown pass on the incredible throw we were just talking about, like none of those are Mahomes' fault. They're where they should be. And if those receivers catch passes, it's a completely different drive and a completely different game. Right?
Right. So like, as I was saying, like, I don't think you can just straight up blame Mahomes. It's not like the game is all on him. But he certainly didn't help, and he does have some share of the blame. Like, yeah, you can say, like, oh, these passes got dropped, but there was just times where he straight up wasn't accurate. He started 5 of 14.
Wasn't it like 1 of 8 at one point?
Yeah. So, and to some extent, yeah, you can blame the receivers and the offensive line, but when it's that bad, like 1 of 8 and 5 of 14, that's a lot on the quarterback too. So the entire team was out of sync. The defense, the offense, special teams. Their punting was terrible, and their punt coverage was terrible.
Dude, man, that punt did not feel good whatsoever. When I saw it, I was like, that hurts. That really hurts.
Yeah.
And The other thing too is I would like to comment on the Bucks defense with the too high safety thing again, because this is what the Falcons did. They ran a too high safety offense, right? And the Falcons limited the Chiefs to 17 points. How the Falcons didn't score more than 14, I don't know, because that offense should be able to score points. It's usually their defense that chokes away leads, but when you take away the big play from Kansas City, right, and you don't fall for their tricks in the running game, because that's what the running game is. It's a bag of tricks. They don't know what to do. Take away Tyreek Hill and the deep ball. Basically take away the track meet, right, and take away the magic of like the tricks in the running game, right, which is what Devin White did. They can't work the middle of the field. They don't. This is not a dink and dunk offense. You force them to play dink and dunk, it's not going to work. I mean, there was a couple times when they were doing it, like they were putting Travis Kelce in the middle, going down the seam, but like that's not the offense they run, and that's not what they do best. So I want more teams, and I've been wanting more teams to run this off. I don't think you realize how much it upsets me. I'm going to get on my pedestal for a second. That this has been the secret to Kansas City's offense for weeks. Play to safety, take away the track meet, and don't fall for their magic bag of tricks. Now, Buffalo, 2 weeks ago, I went back and looked at the film. They did play too high safety, actually, but they kept falling for the bag of tricks. If you remember, there was a lot of like jet sweep motion and other things like that where they were getting huge chunks of yardage, and there was that 150-yard run by, I think, Demarcus Robinson, right? The Bills were covering the track meet part of the game plan, but they weren't covering the bag of tricks, right? I feel like it's not that hard to do. Like if the Falcons can, this is how I feel about this. If the Falcons can do it, why can't anyone else? That's how I feel about it. Now that's probably really minimizing what the Chiefs do, and that's really minimizing how hard it is to play defense. And I understand that. As as a coach, I fully understand you can't minimize the opposing team, because if you do, you're gonna overlook them, which is not a good thing to do. But again, if someone as poor as the Falcons defense is limiting the Chiefs offense, why can't anyone else? Right? And then I see it work in the Super Bowl. I'm like, why didn't this happen 3 weeks ago? Why didn't the Browns do this? Why couldn't the Bills? I don't know. Either way, I feel like the Chiefs need to do something different, and I'm very irritated that they even got to the Super Bowl, because I just never truly believed in their offense, and I was burned 2 games in a row, right? Like, I picked them to beat the Browns, but a piece of me was like, I think the Browns could do this, right? And then when Mahomes was out and they didn't do it, I was like, Chiefs skated by. Ugh. And then when the Bills, I was so confident the Bills were going to win, and then the Bills got creamed, and I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just one game. Maybe the Falcons just had a miracle game. And then I see it happen again in the Super Bowl, and I'm like, damn it, I'm right back where I was. Like, I don't believe in this Chiefs offense if this is how you beat them. Like, we all know how to beat it. Why can't we all do it? I don't know, man. I'm going to get off my pedestal now. I'm sure it's much more complicated than I'm saying it is. I'm probably not giving enough credit to the Bucs defense, or the Falcons defense for that matter. And I'm probably not giving enough credit to Kansas City's offensive game planning, because this is Andy Reid I'm talking about after all, and Patrick Mahomes still is a wizard behind that masterful offense. So I guess I'm sounding like a hater right now, and I don't mean to, because I do love watching Mahomes. Like I said, I was just gushing over a couple of his passes, and I love Andy Reid's schemes. I guess maybe I'm just sick of seeing the same thing and it not getting punished. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I need to stop talking.
Excuse me. I mean, I think you're right. And I don't think, let's put it this way. Tom Brady shouldn't have won MVP of the Super Bowl, and it shouldn't have been Gronk or anything like that. Shouldn't have been any defensive player or offensive player. The MVP of this Super Bowl was Todd Bowles. And I think people discredit Todd Bowles because of his failed stint with the Jets. But, I mean, when you really look at it now, how they've done under Adam Gase over the last couple of years, was it really all that failed, or is the Jets organization just god-awful? So, to me, Todd Bowles, I saw him coach the Cardinals. I've seen him coach the Jets now and be an average team at least. And I've seen him now be the DC of the Super Bowl winning Buccaneers. And carry the team, really. Shut down the most prolific, explosive offense in the league. it made it look like nothing. So that's what I think, honestly. I think finally the blueprint has been laid to beat the Chiefs offense. Now they're going to figure out a way to beat it, and because that's just how the NFL is. They're going to figure out a way to beat how they're currently being played, and then it's the defense again have to figure it out from there.
Yeah.
That being said,
but my only question is, sorry, I just have a question for you. This blueprint's been there for 3 months. Literally 3 months. Why was it only exposed by 2 teams?
And that's what I was getting to is some teams just don't have the personnel to do that. Some teams don't have the personnel to match up with the personnel that Kansas City rolls out, like with Tyreek Hill, DeMarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. They just don't have the skill players to match up to their skill players defensively and offensively. So that's where the problem is. Now, when you take away the starting guard from the Chiefs Super Bowl winning team and the starting left tackle due to injury, and then you put 2 super prolific pass rushers with an incredible defensive-minded coach in Todd Bowles versus that offense with the personnel to do it, yeah, I'm not surprised we got the result we did.
So you're saying it's a mismatch then?
Yeah. That's 100% what it is. You got to have the personnel to match with the Chiefs, and that's why we see teams not being able to beat them. Because, like, while, yes, like, we're making it sound a lot more simple than it is, it's really not. Because it all comes down to matchups no matter what. That's all NFL is individual matchups.
Let me ask the stupid question.
And if you win them...
Sorry, go on.
Well, that was about it. And if you win your individual matchups, it's usually going to be pretty good things for your team.
Okay, so let me ask the stupid question then, because the answer is yes, but I want to know how you really feel about it. Is this game different with Eric Fisher in it, and how much?
I wouldn't. I mean, sure, it'd be different. Like that side of there'd be less pass rush from that side. But in the grand scheme, I don't think the outcome would have been that different.
Well, you have to remember, Eric Fisher leaving meant there were 3 players who switched positions. Their right guard went to left tackle. The person who was, I think, at left guard went to right guard. And then they had a substitute place left. It impacted 3 positions, right? Their left guard didn't stay at left guard. Their left guard went and played right guard. Their right tackle went and played at left tackle, and then they had a sub come in from left guard. Right. There is a difference between playing left guard and right guard, right? You're asking your left guard, okay, hey, dude, you got to play right guard because our right guard's got to do this to replace, our right tackle who's going to place our left tackle, and then we got to bring in a sub at left guard who's not used to playing with us. Like three positions were impacted by 1 injury.
Right. So I get it from that point, and that's why it does make a big difference. But with how out of sync...
Ooh, looks like Pardue left us for a second. Either way, when it comes to like the offensive line, I'm going to maintain the fact that since they were off by, 1 position and it impacted the other 3, at the end of the day, when you have 3 positions that are going to be affected, I don't necessarily believe in the fact that... How do I phrase this? I don't believe in the fact that if 1 injury is going to affect 3 positions, right, that it's just going to be all magical, right? Left guard is different from playing right guard is different from playing right tackle, and of course when you go from right tackle to left tackle, it's going to affect that as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. The Bucs took advantage of it, and I mean, I'm happy. I was rooting for the Bucs, but at the end of the day, they took advantage of that. Let's switch off to the offense, though, and let's talk about the offense for a second. Tom Brady did not have a game for the ages like he did Patriots versus Eagles, but he also had a almost perfect game. Like, he didn't throw any interceptions. He threw for 3 touchdowns, identified the mismatches. Gronk popped up for, what was it? I think 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pardue, I'm assuming you're back with us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll let you finish what you were saying earlier. I just got to the Bucs offense. Antonio Brown had a couple clutch moments. There was nothing in like the Bucs offense that stood out to me. They were just a well-oiled machine who utilized all their weapons. I mean, one could argue Gronkowski did pop off, but in the end, like 67 yards, 2 touchdowns, I think he more just played a piece than he actually did that. So I'm sure people are going to complain about Brady's Super Bowl MVP here, but I don't think it's the worst one he's ever gotten. 201 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, only 8 incompletions out of 29 passes. Like, that's near perfect football. Like, you're pretty much, I mean, you're not managing the game, but you are playing perfectly to win the game, right? So, I mean, the fact that Tom Brady got Super Bowl MVP, I don't think bothers me. I agree with Pardue over here. It probably should have gone to Todd Bowles if they could give it to a coach. And if you want to know Tom Brady's worst MVP ever, it was his 2003 or 2001 Super Bowl MVP, where he passed for 145 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. They really gave a man with 145 yards and 1 interception. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns too, but like they really gave that man MVP when it probably should have been like Ty Law or one of the corners or something like that. They shut down the greatest show on turf, and you're really just going to give it to the guy who game managed the game at the quarterback position? Come on. Mm-hmm. So anyways, you want to finish what you were saying about the defense and the Chiefs offensive line?
So I don't know where I got cut off from, but I'll kind of give the gist of what I was saying. Overall, I kind of just thought that the Chiefs and they were just out-coached and they were out-schemed. I don't know if this got caught on there or not, but we saw these two teams play earlier on in the season, and it was only a 3-point game, and Tyreek Hill had over 200 yards in the first quarter. So it's not like these teams were super far off in terms of talent, and they're not super far off in terms of coaching either. Bruce Arians and his coaching staff are an incredible staff. So I just think the Buccaneers, while I think had the lesser team in terms of personnel, but in terms of scheme, coaching, and the game plan that they came with, the Chiefs stood no chance. The Chiefs they had one of those weeks. Every team has them, and it was just unfortunate that it happened the week of the Super Bowl, and the Bucs took advantage. So that's how they ended up being your Super Bowl champ.
Alrighty. Yeah. I don't think I really have anything else to say about the Super Bowl. I already commented on the offense.
Yeah.
Chiefs defense commentary.
They balled.
I said Chiefs defense.
Bucks. I was thinking the Bucks.
Breland did not play well. You know what? So as much as I like relish Tyrann Mathieu getting really mad, I thought he was actually one of the few Chiefs players who actually did play well. And he played the way he was supposed to. He was the product of 2 really bad calls. The holding call, I'm like, yeah. Where he got the interception, like his interception was called back. I forget who was who got the holding call. It wasn't Tyrann Mathieu, but Tyrann Mathieu was the one who got the interception off the quote-unquote hold.
Yeah.
I watched that and I was like, that's a weak call. It's a really weak call, but all right, whatever. And then the following play, they do like the pass interference when it's not, it's in the end zone. Like even if he caught it, he's in the end zone. I'm like, oh my God, that is the worst pass interference call I've seen in probably at least a few weeks. And And so
since we're talking about like the refs real quick, I know a lot of people want to like make that excuse like, oh, Tom Brady's a fraud because the refs helped him win another one. Okay, you can say that maybe when the game is close.
But this was 31-9. It's like the whole Deflategate thing. That game was 45-14. Like, I'm sorry, the Colts got their ass kicked, and in this game, the Bucs beat down the Chiefs. Like, it wasn't close.
Matter.
It does not matter. No.
So while there were 2 bad calls, let's not pretend either. Like, there were some pretty legitimate calls. Like, the Chiefs were not playing within the rules.
Yeah, the offsides call like that they had.
Do you honestly want to know who I felt like I was watching during this game?
Your team?
And I don't want to sound like being the biased, annoying Arizona fan, but I felt like I was watching the Cardinals because there were so many penalties. The game plan was lacking. They were getting out coached. I felt like I was watching the Cardinals on Sunday. I honestly do.
So I'm not saying the refs are giving it to them, but outside of
Right.
like two bad calls, right, and both like screwed Tyrann Mathieu out of his two big plays, I thought he still played relatively well. Like I said, it was really funny to watch him get discouraged because anytime Tyrann Mathieu gets discouraged, I think it's
Yeah.
hilarious. I think it's hysterical.
Yeah.
I'm not even.
I
I'm not a Cardinals fan. I didn't actually start really paying attention to Matthews till he left Arizona. Right, I live in Arizona, and I didn't really pay attention to Tyrann Mathieu when he was here. I knew, like, Honey Badger don't care, and he had like a few plays and whatnot. But I really didn't start paying attention until he left Arizona, and even then, I've just never liked his presence in the NFL. I don't think he's contributed positively. I think he's a great player. I think he's probably a wonderful teammate. Everybody seems to love him as a teammate, but I've never liked his persona off the field. Right, not on social media, not in interviews.
So here's where I stand on that. As someone who was a huge fan of Tyrann Mathieu for a period of time, he's a good person. He is. But he's very sensitive, and he can be a dick. But he is a good person if you really like get into his story and everything. But I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Tyrann Mathieu, and like he says, he's like, oh, I'll never go back to Arizona because they gave up on me, and I can't believe they did that to me. They're like, well, they were actually the only team in the National Football League that gave you a chance and literally gave you your career. And then when you got injured twice by tearing your ACL, they said, okay, we just gave you that big contract, and you're not playing up to it anymore, so we're going to give you a little bit of a pay cut. And while I understand you have the right to be mad, it's a business, so... And don't say they never did anything for you. I mean, the only reason you have a Super Bowl ring is because they drafted you.
Yeah.
So I love Tyrann Mathieu because he actually still does stuff in the state of Arizona to like help, the community here. But as a football persona, not a big fan.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. So, like I said, it was hilarious to watch him get discouraged. I still think he played pretty well and was probably one of the only Chiefs players on the defense who actually played pretty well. I don't think there's much you can do as a safety when calls are going against the two biggest plays you made, right? The interception and the, keeping up with the wide receiver so you can't get the touchdown in the end zone. Those are two massive plays, right? And they were both wiped away by penalties. And he still played solid. Like he never allowed really a big play to happen. It was never on him, I feel. So he was one of the few guys who actually did play well. And outside of that, I don't have a lot of positives to say about the Chiefs. Like I feel like he played well and that was it. Everything else was pretty surgical. Leonard Fournette got to run. Tom Brady got to throw. And what's funny is like there was no like real offensive production from the Bucs, but it's because they got such short fields, right? So
that was one thing that I noticed a lot too. Is like the field position battle was dominated by the Bucs.
So I got nothing else to say on the Super Bowl other than that.
Nah, not really.
Alrighty. So we already talked about what we're going to do for the next few weeks. We're going to go over the divisionals. So we'll talk more about like coaching hires, potential player swaps, and all that stuff at a later time. The last thing we want to talk about is we want to look at the year in reflection, and we want to talk about our best and our worst takes. So we're going to cloud ourselves first, and we're going to talk about our worst takes. I'm going to start first since we're still on the topic of the Super Bowl. I remember claiming back in April on this show that I was not a fan of Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers because they were a 7-9 squad who I thought, well, improved quarterback play is really only going to bring them to 9-7. And this is me as a Tom Brady fan, right? It is well known that I am a Tom Brady fan. I love watching him. But even when he left, I was like, dude, he's going to an offense that's not for him whatsoever. And when Gronk came back, I'm like, Gronk's coming back. Whatever. They're going like 9-7 or 10-6. They'll reach the wild card round, probably losing the wild card round. And even if they win the wild card round, they'll lose in the divisional round. Like, I don't see I don't see Tom Brady in a different offense for the first time in 20 years being able to get so in sync with his offense that he's going to win it. I just don't see any of that happening. It's a Bruce Arians team. Their defense is a little sus, and their defense didn't change at all. and they're getting a brand new left tackle at rookie. Yeah, this is a team who's
Turns into one of the best left tackles in the NFL.
yeah, man. It's just everything I'm saying sounds like clownery right now, right? Because I mean, hindsight's 2020, but at the time I was like, yeah, I don't like where he's going. He could have gone to the Colts or something like that and done better. Yeah, this team, nah, this ain't it. This ain't it. It's gonna work, but it ain't gonna work that well. That's probably my worst take of last year. Because they won the Super Bowl. And they dominated on their way to the Super Bowl. I think their last loss was to Kansas City back in, week 10? And ever since then, it's been, 10, 11 wins in a row? Yeah, they killed everyone. They had a rough beginning, which we did say would happen. We said a rough beginning would happen. But I did not see their offensive production getting that good that quickly. And their defense really turned it on. Holy smokes, dude. Like Byron Leftwich, Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians, they all did a phenomenal job. And Tom Brady being able to tell his teammates, hey, this is how it works, this is how I roll, get on board or don't. Man, I don't know why I doubted it in the first place. I mean, I know why I did, but even as a Tom Brady fan, at the end of the day, I doubted a guy who I love to watch, and I know why I did, but also hindsight's 2020, and I kind of don't know why I did either. So yeah, that's my worst take. Claiming that the Buccaneers would not be anything more than a wild card team, and I mean they were a wild card team. They were 5th seed, but I'm a clown. It's fine.
So my worst take, I know I said months back prior to the season that Josh Allen wasn't going to be able to take that next step. And I mean, at the time, I wasn't too far off base. And I mean, neither were you with your take. But, because Josh Allen, his rookie year, he struggled. He was a rookie. And then his second year, he took a leap, but he just kind of looked like an average guy. He really still struggled with accuracy. Wasn't an elite passer, but he was a decent football player, so he's a decent quarterback.
And that play in the Texans playoff game really sticks in your head, right? The whole, throwing it backward. He wasn't even looking when he threw it backwards. He just lobbed it behind it. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, man.
Right, so for him to come out this year and arguably be a top 5, top 3 quarterback, probably, in my opinion, the number 2 MVP candidate.
Probably.
And to kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say prove me wrong, because I'm of the opinion that you can't teach accuracy. You either have it or you don't. Accuracy can improve, but it's because you already have the ability. You just need to harness your skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not that I didn't necessarily think he couldn't improve his accuracy. I didn't know if he was accurate or not. And from the first 2 years, he wasn't accurate. So I kind of assumed, all right, Josh Allen's not going to be an accurate NFL passer. And then this year he came out and did what he did. And now, I have to recant. So it'll be interesting to see how he continues to develop going forward. But, I mean, yeah, that's my bad take.
Yeah. All right. And then we're going to go for our W's here. Look, I'm proud of this take, and I've been proud of it all year, man. And what's funny was even after week 2, when you're like, yeah, this team sucks, dude. Why do you like them? I was like, it's only week 2, dude. They're going to be better. They had a rough schedule. They did have a rough schedule to start. I think they played Baltimore week 1, and I forget who they played week 2. But either way, it just didn't look good for them. And I'm like, yeah, after playing Baltimore week 1, of course you're going to get stomped. And I forget what it was week 2, and they got stomped then. But it was that I loved the Kevin Stefanski hire, and I said the Browns would take at least the number 7 seed and go to the playoffs. And they did much better than that. They took the number 6 seed. They won a playoff game. They looked competitive in the divisional game. They looked like they belonged. It wasn't a mistake. They went 11-5, much better than I thought they would. And Kevin Stefanski was coach of the year. Nothing about my take about the Browns this year, it was nothing but spot on. I loved the hire. I thought it was perfect. I loved what Kevin Stefanski did with the Vikings, with the run game with Dalvin Cook, and how he managed Kirk Cousins. And I'm like, this is perfect for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield needs someone to reel him in, someone to make him more mature, someone to make him realize, hey, this is what you can do with the ball. This is what you can't do with the ball. And when you got a guy who's really good at designing running games and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are your running backs, hell yeah, I'm going to love that hire. So I've been on board with the hire since the day it was announced. I was really confident in it, and I know there were some people that were like, yeah, but it's the Browns. I'm like, yeah, but this just makes so much sense. It made too much sense for the Browns. Like, I can't remember any time I've ever thought the Browns have made a good move, right? I don't. I do not remember a time when I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good move. I loved this move. I feel so vindicated that Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. And I know I said I picked Sean McDermott for the year. I did. But I feel so vindicated that he won because Kevin Stefanski, I thought, was the answer for Cleveland. He ended up being the answer for Cleveland, and they did even better than I thought they would. So, absolute W of a take, and I'm so happy for Cleveland. Seeing Cleveland fans on my timeline be happy for once in their lives. And the thing is, like, they didn't even rub it in anyone's face. They're just like, we gotta win! Woohoo! And then suddenly they're like, we're in the playoffs! And they're like, oh my god, this isn't real life. We're beating the Steelers. Like, they just were so happy. There was no spite from them. There was no anger. They were just nothing but happy. And I can't help but appreciate that for the city of Cleveland and Cleveland fans. So, W of a take on Kevin Stefanski, W of a take on the Browns doing well, and massive W for the city of Cleveland to actually have a winning football team. What a great year they had, man. I can't say enough about Cleveland or gush about them. They had a wonderful year.
All right, so my W take. So while it wasn't 100% spot on, it was so off the radar and so honestly off the take hot from people who didn't actually know. Now, if you watched and paid attention to numbers and looked at the numbers, this doesn't shock you. But I think I said it like week 2 or week 3. It was very, very, very early on in the season. But I said the Cardinals will finish as a top 3 rushing team. And they were in the top 3 for the vast majority of the season, but about the 6 weeks, 6 games left in the season, the running game really died down and it really hurt their numbers. And they finished 7th, I believe, 6th or 7th. So even the year previous, under Cliff Kingsbury's first year, they were the 10th ranked rushing offense. Oh, but it's the air raid. No, guys, if we really watch it, when the team is running its most efficiently offensively, it is through the run game. Whether it be Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, it's through the run game. So, I mean, yeah. Not much left to say about it. I mean, that's the W take. So, hopefully they can, be able to run the football consistently next year and end up in the playoffs like the Browns.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd still say it's a W of a take for the Cardinals because I don't think anybody, when they think the Cardinals, thinks running team. No,
Right.
nobody but
National
Cardinals
media. No.
Nobody but Cardinals fans thinks that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even think Cardinals.
And even a lot of Cardinal fans don't think it either. Yeah.
I don't even think Cardinals media thinks it either. Cardinals media is always wanting to blame Kingsbury and Kyler Murray for something. When I'm sitting here like, if they just got better production from their running backs like they're supposed to, like, well, who knows? Man, maybe they'd win a few games. Because when they did win games and when they did look good, Kyler Murray was running for like 60 plus. And Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds were running well. Like Kenyon Drake wasn't fumbling the ball. Chase Edmonds was actually catching passes and doing well. Like, out of the backfield, I should say. Like those passes that count as runs because like they throw behind them, right? So it's considered a quote unquote pitch, not a throw, even though it's
right.
Thrown like a throw and not thrown like a pitch. But it's considered a pitch, so it's a quote unquote run play. Chase Edmonds runs those kind of things too. There's a lot we could say about the Cardinals, and I'm not going to make this a Cardinals episode, but I'm going to give you the W on this one because they still ended up number 7 in rushing. I don't think anybody in the media would have guessed that, not even Cardinals media, and you're right, not even Cardinals fans. And me, I was a doubter of it all year. Every time you're like, they're a top 3 rushing team, my response was always, nah. Now, I get to feel a little vindicated because, they were number 6, but at the same time, even I was like, I'll give you 5 or 6. right? I ain't giving you top 3. Because when you look at the top 3, I'm like, you're asking Arizona to beat the Ravens running offense, Cleveland's running offense, and Tennessee's running offense. Like those are.
And I mean, they were for a little while.
You're not wrong. They were, but like at the end of the year, that's what you got to do, right? And in my head, I'm like, I just don't see it, right? But I also got to give some credit because they stayed along, and the entire time I was like, dang, Pardue was onto something, and I had no idea. Right, and I know the numbers from the year before, and I totally understand how Kenyon Drake changed the way the running game went last year. And when I say last year, I mean the 2019 season when they traded for him. But at the end of the day, I was like, I don't believe it. I don't see it. And then I eventually saw it, and I'm like, all right, I know what he was going for. Unfortunately, they just didn't get enough production to stay in the top 3, and also that was part of the reason why they finished 2-6, right? Was that what it was? 2-6, 2-5. So, yeah, what can you do, man? So yeah, W of a take. You knew the Cardinals more than I did. Shocker, you knew the Cardinals more than I did. Shocker. So, those are big W's and L's from this season. I can't think of any other takes that I thought were big dubs or big L's. Like, I guess my Washington take, saying the Washington defense would win them 6 or more games, was a pretty good take. I mean, they pushed the Bucs to 31-23, and the Bucs were our Super Bowl winners. I guess there's that. That's kind of a dub on my part.
I think honestly, you could say the Washington football team gave the Bucs their hardest competition in the playoffs.
Green Bay was there at the end.
I mean, you could say that, but
Green Bay was closer.
I would say
Green Bay was closer to winning that game. I'm just saying. I would say their easiest game was. I don't want to say it was the Chiefs. It might have been the Chiefs because the Saints at least were ahead by what was it, 20-3?
Mm.
The Saints had a lead, like a giant lead at one point, and then they blew it. Yeah, I don't know. The Bucs got hot, and like I said, Washington, their defense played well for the most part. You know what? A big L of ours was saying Philadelphia was going to win the division, and they finished 4th. My guy.
Yeah. But I mean, that entire division was a crapshoot. It's not like it was super off base. Like, I thought about using that one as my bad take, but I was like, I mean, a lot of people said that.
Yeah, but we said they would be first, and they were 4th. Like, my guy.
Right, but like a lot of people said that. A lot of people said they would still probably win the division because that's just how bad the division was.
I agree, but man, what a bad take. What a horrendous take.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of
I mean, who would have expected Alex Smith to actually play football this year and play decent football?
Yeah, he went 5
enough to get them to the postseason.
He was 5-1 when they were on the team. Like, this team went 7-9, and he was 5-1 when they were on the field.
And he threw like 4 touchdown passes the entire time.
Yeah, well, he just managed the game. Like, it was just smart quarterback play, right? There's only one game that he played that was bad. I think he threw like 3 interceptions in that game, something like that. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think of like what happened this year now that I'm reflecting on it. I don't think there's any other takes where I'm like, wow, that was like a horrendous take that I had, or this was a great take that I had. Because nothing else was really like fantastic and nothing was bad. You know what I will say was my shining moment of the year besides the Browns one? Because I've stayed with it. My whole rant on quarterbacks. You know, me being tired of, just people like berating them, and I'm like, dude, you're in year 3, chill out. Like, come on, man. We don't need to judge a quarterback based on year 3. Like, we've seen Ryan Tannehill improve later in his career. We've seen Derek Carr get better later in his career. Like, come on, man. There's no need to hate on Lamar or call Mahomes a fraud or, call for Kyler Murray's job at the end of year 2. Like, come on, man. There's no need for it. That's a big W take, in my opinion. Still a big W. I have not had any quarterback slander come from my mouth since then. I think the one little tiny bit of quarterback slander that came from my mouth was probably for Carson Wentz. But even then, I'm still kind of sort of still a Carson Wentz apologist. Like, I want to give him another year. I don't believe in his faltering yet. Like, I think he had a terrible year. He played hero ball. He had a horrendous year. I'm not even going to deny that. He declined. I will 100% say that. But a piece of me wants to give him one more year. And if after one more year it ain't there, I'll be like, all right, we're good. I was an apologist, moving on. Right? But I want to give him one more year, but not with Philadelphia. I want to see him under Josh McDaniels or Frank Reich. That's where I want to see him. And if he gets traded to Chicago, It's over.
That's what I was about to say.
It's doomed.
Like, well, it's unfortunate he's going to the Bears. So.
Hey, it's not official yet, man. No,
It's
not
gonna
official.
happen.
You know what's funny? I think the weirdest place for him to go that I wouldn't see coming, but I wouldn't mind, would probably be Carolina. I think that would be the weirdest place for him to go, but I wouldn't mind it either.
I don't think they would go from Teddy Bridgewater to Carson Wentz.
But this is me as someone.
Not enough of a parent upgrade.
This is me who is someone who's defended Teddy B because they have. But even as someone coming from me who's defended Teddy Bridgewater, doesn't Carson Wentz have a higher ceiling?
I mean, sure, but you're already paying like Teddy Bridgewater like $20 million. You really want to have like what $55 million dedicated to the quarterback room, and one of them's not even playing.
Isn't that why you're supposed to swap quarterbacks?
I mean, in theory, yeah.
I don't know. And
I don't know.
This is starting to get into future
like
prediction territory. This is starting to get into future prediction territory. Like I said, I wouldn't want him to go there, but I wouldn't mind it if it happened. Like I said, the only place that if Carson Wentz went to, I'd be like, it's doomed. Pack it up. His career's over. It would be Chicago, especially if Allen Robinson left. I don't think there's anything there for Carson Wentz to do well or succeed. Maybe Matt Nagy gets something out of him, but I really don't know. I don't know how to judge Matt Nagy. He's gotten the best out of Trubisky. And that's saying something, but also, I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to judge Matt Nagy because his quarterback's been Trubisky. Like, how do you judge a guy when his best option is Trubisky? Like,
he's got a winning record.
Yeah, he does. So. Like that's the point. It's my point, right? Like, I just don't know how you. I don't know. Matt Nagy's a mystery to me. I really liked what he did with Kansas City. I mostly like the work he's done with Trubisky because Trubisky's not good. And when I say not good, I mean that out of good faith. Like, he's just... I feel like when Trubisky does well, it's because the game plan by Matt Nagy is executed, not because Trubisky's actually great. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to count that as quarterback slander, you can. I don't. I think that's just being honest. Yeah. Yep. No, right. I still consider my quarterback take a big dub. Is there anything else you want to brag about from the season, or are you good to go?
No, I think I'm good, man.
Alrighty, so that concludes our episode. Short episode, under 55 minutes. We thought we'd only have like a 45-minute episode. We're at 51. So, you know what, guys? It's been a year. Thanks for the 21 subscribers. Thanks for over 300 views on one of our videos. Holy moly, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And thanks so much for those of us who've started to join us on our journey. We got some big things, or at least we consider them big things coming up. We would like to announce that we're going to have a giveaway. We're going to probably be doing that. We're going to have 2 giveaways this year, maybe 3, but 2 officially as of right now. One that's going to be a little bit after free agency and right before the draft. We'll be doing a jersey giveaway. And then after that, we'll be doing another jersey giveaway right before as the NFL season starts. So be on the lookout for that. We'll announce that on our next episode again. There's going to be like ways that you get the jersey, the whole like this, retweet this, follow the account, blah, 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 right? Because, if we're giving away a free jersey, we need as many people as possible to see that we're giving away a free jersey, right? So we want as many people as possible to get that chance at that entry. So, and then we have a big Arizona local guest. When I say Arizona local, I don't mean, no offense, someone like Tristan or someone like, who's the other person we had? I guess they weren't local to Arizona, but either way, I don't mean like a local person like us. I mean like they work for the Arizona Republic and they are an insider for the Arizona Cardinals. We are going to have them on the show in a couple weeks. No names yet, but we are very excited to say that we are going to have an Arizona insider. So we'll give you the name of that person at a later date when we have confirmed the date with them. They've already told us, yes, they would be on the show. We just need to get a confirmation of when we can get them on. And that will be the week that we do the NFC West episode because we'll talk about the Cardinals, probably 70% Cardinals and then 30% Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers. And then to our Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers fans, it's just because we're going to have a Cardinals reporter that we're going to be focusing on the Cardinals.
Sounds like my kind of episode.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Alrighty, so you can catch us at HC Analysts for the show. You can get more remarks there. That's where we're going to need you to follow for the jersey giveaway that we'll be doing in probably late April, I'd say. You can follow me at HCJC Sanders, and you can follow Pardue at HC_Pardue. Is that it for the 2020-2021 season, man?
Put it in the coffin.
Man, we made it every single day, got a game played, nothing was canceled, no week 18, and you know what? We made it through a full year. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful offseason, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks.